The On Cloudsurfer Next is On's latest addition in their lineup. It is meant to be a daily trainer. So, how did it hold up to the test? Let's find out. As always, we're going to start with the outsole of the shoe. So, how did the outsole perform from a traction perspective as well as a durability perspective? From a traction perspective, I typically only ran on the roads with these. I probably wouldn't recommend these for trail running as they were intended for road running purposes only. And I tested this shoe in mostly dry conditions, maybe a little bit of street cleaning here and there, but I do live in the city in California, so it was mostly dry as well as I was testing it on the road. And overall, traction felt really good. I didn't feel like I was going to slip at any point in time, making those quick cuts, turns around the corner. I had no issues with the traction whatsoever. So traction wise, they did phenomenally and I had no problems. As for durability, I put about 25 to 30 miles on this shoe so far. And I'm gonna be honest, the traction pattern or the outsole pattern on the On Cloudsurfer Next does look pristine. It doesn't look like there was much wear at all. And even the etchings on the bottom of the outsole are still there, which is a good sign always after 25 to 30 miles. Obviously, this is not a super scientific way to test a shoe's durability, but a lot of the times I can see a little bit of wear on outsoles after 25 to 30 miles. So it is a good sign that this shoe has not shown any signs of wear yet. Now, with that being said, if you're looking for a longer term review, 100 miles, 200 miles, 300 miles, it's going to take a while for me to put that type of mileage on a shoe as I am testing a lot of different shoes at once. So we'll see how this outsole holds up over time. But overall, durability seems to be all right for now. Now, moving on to the cushioning of the On Cloudsurfer Next, I think this is where On differentiates itself from a lot of other running brands, and in my opinion, it's what gives On shoes its wow factor. Whether that's purely aesthetic or it is performance based, that is up to you to decide. In this model, we have a lower stack Cloud Tech Phase midsole. As you can see, there are little holes in the midsole to allow for a better compression of the Helion Super Foam. And overall, I would say with all that marketing material to the side, these shoes felt okay. I think the highlight for this midsole is that it felt very smooth in transitions and it didn't feel like it was bogging me down at all. I think the highlight of this midsole is that it felt incredibly smooth. The heel to toe transitions in this shoe felt phenomenal. As for how the midsole felt itself, I would say that even though On claims, or I'm not sure if On claims this or I've heard this in other reviews, but it is a touch firmer than other On models. I think it's maybe due to an updated compound in the Helion foam, but due to the cutouts or the Cloud Tech Phase bubbles or whatever you want to call them, they do offer a lot of compression, which in my opinion makes the ride a little bit more on the soft end and not on the responsive end. Now, in my experience at 195 pounds as well, with these cutouts in On's shoes, typically I feel that I can compress the holes. I feel like I can compress the midsole very well due to those holes. However, especially since this shoe does not have a plate, the bounce back of the holes in the midsole typically don't feel very responsive in my experience. Now, with the firmer foam and the Cloud Tech Phase bubbles, I did feel some good compression, and this is a lower stack shoe. It did feel for me a little bit on the softer end, but I would still say that the ride is pretty stable. Overall, I think that the midsole did its job. It's not going to blow your mind or anything, and I wouldn't take this shoe out for more than an 8 to 10 mile run for me personally, just because of that lower stack height, as well as the midsole was just not the most responsive or fun feeling midsole. It just felt incredibly smooth and it absorbed the impact, which I guess does its job as a daily trainer. Now, moving on to the upper of the On Cloudsurfer Next, we have a woven engineered mesh upper. At least that's what On claims. And overall, I would say that the upper was okay for me. I didn't really love it. And I had a couple issues with the upper on these shoes. So First of all, I want to say that these do run true to size. I have a wider foot and I ordered my typical size 12, a normal size 12, not a size 12 wide. This shoe does come in wide options, so that's something to keep in mind for my wide footer friends. There were a couple problems with the fit, in my opinion. So, even though I ordered the normal size 12 without the width, the extra width, that's what I typically wear in other running shoes, and I typically don't have a problem, even though my foot is on the slightly wider side. And on this shoe specifically, on my right foot, I did feel rubbing on my pinky toe, which ended up causing a little bit of redness and discomfort, especially after 6 to 8 miles. That's how I personally felt. I think it's due to this upper being a little bit more of a tougher mesh or a reinforced mesh. It's not a mesh that's very soft. It has a little bit of rigidity to it, which I think will add to the durability of the upper. However, when I was running in the shoe, it kind of rubbed against my pinky toe as I do have a wider foot, and it caused a little bit of irritation there. Moving on to the heel lockdown of the fit, that's where I also felt a little bit of problems in the shoe. I did have to do a runner's knot because without the runner's knot, I felt my heel was not completely secured. But with the runner's knot, my heel was secured. However, I did feel the laces start to cut into the top part of my ankle and the front part of my foot. It was not a super pleasant experience, so I had to kind of loosen the laces and play with the laces a little more than I'd like to, and I just never got that one-to-one fit that I want in a running shoe, and those are the two major issues that I had with the fit and the upper. Other than that, with the gusseted tongue, the mesh upper was pretty standard, and it didn't feel phenomenal, and it didn't feel really atrocious at all. I just feel like with the fit on the heel lockdown, the laces kind of biting into the upper part of my ankles as well as the rubbing on my pinky toe. These just weren't my first option when it comes to uppers. And I think that with a softer material or a more forgiving material on the upper, that could have been solved, as well as the lacing system in this shoe. It's a little bit interesting. It has an asymmetrical look. From a bird's eye view, it does have kind of an asymmetrical lacing pattern. And it is a little bit interesting because once you get to the last couple of eyelets, there is like a gap, and it just doesn't feel like a true one-to-one fit, or at least in my experience with my foot shape and ankle shape. So really quickly, I want to talk about looks of this shoe, and I know it doesn't have anything to do with performance, but let's be real. When we're buying running shoes, we don't want them to look ugly as hell. So with this shoe, this is where On has me in a chokehold. I think that they have some of the nicest colorways as well as the nicest designs. It is a personal preference, to each their own, but in my opinion, their shoes look freaking nice. And you can call them overpriced and, not good for the value, and cheap, durable, like not durable, all these different things. I've heard all of it for On, but something that they do really well is the design of their shoes, in my opinion, as well as just the colorways that they put. Like, I have the Paris Olympics colorway, and I do think that this one looks really, really good in my opinion. So I feel like with that bias towards the shoe, even though it didn't perform well at all, and I think it's a below average daily trainer, especially for the price point of $150, I found myself not really minding as much of the performance and kind of wanting to wear the shoe just because it looked good, if I'm being completely honest. And I know that some people are only going to care about the performance of running shoes, and some people are going to care more about the looks of the running shoes, and some people also care about both. So if you care about the looks of the running shoe and you really love the look of these, I feel like that's the only time I could recommend buying this shoe at full price, $150. If you're looking at just the performance aspect of this running shoe, I would say look elsewhere. There's a lot of other great daily trainers that come in at $140, so $10 cheaper, or maybe less, with the Adizero SL2, that perform a lot better. They're more comfortable. They fit the foot better, or at least fit my foot better. And they just are more versatile than the shoe. You're going to be able to take them on longer runs versus, with these, I felt that the cushioning was only sufficient enough for, 8 to 10 miles, especially with all the rubbing and the problems that I had with the upper. So it's kind of up to you guys, but personally, I wouldn't recommend this shoe for $150. Then again, if you are looking for a nice looking running shoe, or you just are a big On fan in general, I'm not going to stop you from buying these. I think these are beautiful, but for me, I think this is more suitable for like walking, or just like kind of like an active wear or active recovery shoe where you're just like walking, maybe going on some light hikes or going to the mall or something. These are really, really comfortable for walking. But other than that, if you're looking to spend hard earned money on a good performance running shoe, I feel like you can definitely get better than this. It is then again, it isn't a bad shoe whatsoever. It is a slightly below average daily trainer, in my opinion, especially with the price considered. But it's just hard to compete in this running shoe market. I think there's so many great running shoes out there, especially at a cheaper price point. Like, for example, the Asics Nova Blast 4 is $140. And I think that's like, the top daily trainer that everyone loves. And I personally really love too. And I just can't really wholeheartedly give the approval for this one or recommend it to everyone unless you really love the look of the shoe or you love the brand On. So that's going to pretty much wrap up my review of the On Cloudsurfer Next. Unfortunately, it was a no-go for me, but it does look very beautiful in my opinion. So it's really up to you whether or not you want to buy the shoe, but if you're looking at it from a performance standpoint, as I said a billion times in this video, you probably want to look elsewhere. This is probably not going to exceed your expectations whatsoever, but it is going to look good doing it. So I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you when I see you.